Hello everyone, it is January the 17th, 2026, and we are back with a harder difficulty Clues by Sam. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Chase is one of two criminals above Petra. So there's Chase is a criminal and then one of these is a criminal. Susan is one of Thor's 7 criminal neighbours. So there's only one non-criminal surrounding Thor. There's only one innocent surrounding Thor. Oof. All criminals in row 5 are connected. So that means that Will cannot be the... well, it could be theoretically Will and Vicky are both innocent. But I think Zavi definitely has to be a criminal. Zavi can't be innocent because that would be Will and Zoe, both criminals, not connected. So Zavi has to be a criminal. Could be Zoe. Could be Vicky innocent. Could be Vicky and Will if it turns out the 4 is an outlier. Row 2 is the only row with exactly 2 criminals. Okay. So, obviously, as I just said, that does rule out the Vicky and Will both innocent scenario. Which means that Will has to be a criminal. Don't think that tells us anything about this. I mean, I guess it... yeah, no, it doesn't really tell us anything about this or this. Well, again... it can't be that Laura is innocent if there's also an innocent in here, but that doesn't... yeah, it's not necessarily enough to make a link. There are more innocents in row 3 than in row 5. So when it says all criminals in row 5 are connected, it could theoretically be all 4 of them are criminals. Which would mean that there is only has to be one innocent in here. More innocents in row 3 than row 5. Well, actually, because there's only one innocent in this 8 surrounding Thor, that innocent can't be Zoe. Because if we imagine Zoe is the innocent, then all 3 of these have to be criminals. At most, there are the same number of innocents across these 2 rows. So Zoe has to be a criminal. And then it's either Vicky... well, if Uma is innocent, then Vicky has to be a criminal. If any of those are innocent, then Vicky can be innocent if Laura is also innocent. It's not necessarily a thing it's worth writing down right now. Exactly 2 innocents above Zavi are neighbouring Ivan. So Ivan's here, so there are 2 innocents and 1 criminal in this pile. Row 2 is the only row with exactly 2 criminals. 2 innocents above Zavi and neighbouring Ivan. So we've got 2 innocents in here. My immediate guess is that it's going to be that Nicole is the criminal and the other 2 are innocent, but that's not necessarily true. Actually, I just realised I've not thought enough about it previous. So there are more innocents in row 3 than row 5. It can't be that there are 2 innocents in row 3. It can't be that there are 3 innocents because there's just not enough space. Which means that there has to be 1 innocent in row 3, which means there has to be 0 innocents in row 5. Only 1 of the 4 innocents neighbouring Ivan is in row 3. And then we have 1... so 1 is in here. Well, that tells us that Olaf is definitely a criminal. Because if there's 1 innocent in here, we know there's 1 innocent in the row in total. So Olaf is a criminal. 1 innocent in here. 1 innocent in here. either Gabe and these two and one of these, or Laura and both of them. But at least one of these is innocent. Only one of the three innocents neighbouring Martin is in column A. So again, we know that there's one innocent in this pair, which means that Petra has to be a criminal. And then we have one innocent here. Yeah, not enough we can really work with on that. There are exactly two innocents above Xavi. Didn't we have a... Yeah, there are two innocents above Xavi neighbouring Ivan. So both of them are in here, which means that Thor is a criminal. Thank you. Please disregard the phone buzzing. I'm going to be disregarding it. There are exactly two innocents above Xavi. Both of them are neighbouring Ivan. All criminals in row 5 are connected. We can turn that off. 4 innocents neighbouring Ivan. 1 in this row. Row 2 is the only row with exactly 2 criminals. So... how many innocents are in row 1? Can we make any judgments on that? Exactly 2 innocents above Savvy. Only one of the 3 innocents neighbouring Martin. It's in column A, so it's 1, and then 2 over here. We know there's 2 in this. We know there's 2 in this row. 1 in this row. We still don't know much about Uma. Okay, so 4 innocents neighbouring Ivan. 1 is in this row, 1 is here, 2 left across Gabe, John, and Evie. Susan is 1 of 4, 7. So we've got 1 innocent left in this trio. Which I guess means that Laura and Uma have to be the same, right? Because if Uma is innocent, then these two have to be criminals, which means that this is the innocent. And if Uma is criminal, then one of these two has to be innocent, which means that Laura has to be a criminal. So these two are technically the same. Gabe, meanwhile, has to be different from Laura, which means has to be different from Uma. Susan 3 innocents neighbouring Martin. So we've got 1 innocent here. And there's 2 in here. Row 2 is the only one with exactly 2 criminals. So... does that mean we can rule out Ivan and John both being innocents? So if Ivan and John are both innocent, Nicole has to be a criminal, Gabe has to be a criminal, Laura has to be innocent, Uma has to be innocent, Martin would have to be a criminal, Kay would have to be a criminal. Is any of this ruled out so far? So, 407 criminal neighbours, 3 innocents neighbouring Martin, 1, 2, 3... 4 innocents neighbouring Ivan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 1 in row 3. Row 2 has exactly 2. That would mean that Frank has to be innocent. Row 2 has exactly 2 criminals, 2 innocents above Savvy. Yeah, I don't think we can rule that out yet. Which is annoying. Okay, turn these off. And then, if on the other hand it's Nicole is innocent and one of these is criminal, it doesn't matter which. Martin has to be criminal. Laura has to be criminal. Uma has to be criminal. Gabe has to be innocent. Kay has to be criminal. Thor has 7 criminal neighbours. 3 innocents neighbouring Martin. 1, 2, and 3rd. Only 1 is in column A. 4 innocents neighbouring Ivan. So we have 1, 2, 3. And then we would have a 4th in... We'd have to have a 4th in Evie or John. Everyone 1 is in row 3. Row 2 has exactly 2. And we'd have to have another 50-50 on Evie and Frank, where whichever one Evie is, Frank is the other one. 2 innocents, above Savvy. Yeah. I think I need to do a quick comparison. So let's just drag this off to one side. So I have a comparison to do with, and then we'll redo the world where Ivan and John are both innocent. So if Ivan and John are both innocent, these 2 have to be criminals, these 2 have to be innocent, Martin and Nicole have to be criminals, Evie has to be innocent, Frank has to be innocent. So in both of these worlds, by comparing, I'm sorry, I'm just dragging the screenshotting tool over, but you can see that in both of these worlds, Kay and Martin are both criminals, regardless, in every single case. Well, in both of those cases, Kay and Martin are criminals. And it would be nice if I could prove that that has to be the case without doing that whole let's try both of these worlds. Let's just have a quick think to see if there's any other way we can prove it. Just make a note of these 2, I think. We'll make a note actually down in the bottom, because I think these 2 have to both be criminals. So Kay and Martin, I think Kay and Martin have to both be criminals. So surrounding Martin, there are 3 innocent neighbours. We have 1 and then 2 in here. If there's 2 in here, there's only 3 worlds. There's a world where one of Ivan and John is criminal. Is criminal, and then the world where Nicole is criminal. There's no 3rd world. It has to be that pair, or that pair. So that is an exhaustive check, which means that I can be confident at least that I've not overlooked an alternative world. Every other world has one of those 3 options. Can't prove anything about K. We don't have any. We have very little about column D at the moment, which is annoying. Thor has 7 criminal neighbours. We know that there's only 1 innocent in this row, so obviously it can't be. So let me just have a think. Is there a world, if we pretend that this is the world where we have Martin is innocent, Nicole and Uma are criminals, then Laura has to be a criminal as well. Gabe has to be innocent. Ivan and John have to both be innocent, and then we've already run out of criminals. So I can show that Martin definitely has to be a criminal from that. I don't think there's any way I can prove that Kay has to be a criminal beyond just having shown that in all three worlds Kay is criminal. Can I show that the two innocents have to be in these three? So if Kay is innocent, then we only have one innocent left in this trio. We know that if there's one innocent left in this trio, it has to be one of Ivan and John, because they can't both be criminals. So one of them is innocent, and then Nicole has to also be innocent. There's only one innocent in this row, which means that Laura has to be a criminal. Gabe, therefore, has to be innocent, and we've run out. So, yeah, we can prove that Kay and Martin both have to be criminals without showing the worlds. Took a while to get there, but we did. I'm very much expecting to need to have to recapitulate that and re-explain that. So definitely, if that didn't make sense to you how we got there, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Exactly one innocent in column C is neighbouring John. We already know that there are two innocents remaining in column C. So if there's one neighbouring John, and that is two of the three options, then John also has to be innocent. We know that these two have to be linked. Only one column has exactly three criminals. I think we're going to have to come back to that. We know it's not column A. Column B, only if Ivan is... Column C... Column C has to be the column with exactly three criminals. So, Ivan has to be a criminal. Column D... we know there has to be at least one more criminal. We don't know who it is, but at least one of these has to be criminal. But I think there's space for that, so that's fine. Okay. I think, given that we now know that... Well, Martin... We go back to Martin now. Martin has three innocent neighbours. 1, 2... Nicole has to be innocent. Evie has to be criminal. Now we have... We did have something from Frank. It's because row 2 is the only one with exactly two criminals. That means that Frank has to be a criminal. So, only one column has exactly three criminals is done. Because all of these have at least 4. Thor has 7 criminal neighbours, which means Uma is a criminal, Laura is a criminal, and Gabe is innocent. We are done. That took some work. And sadly, I'm not even in the top 50% on that. So, apologies if you managed to do it faster than that, and that's completely wasted your time there. For everyone else, thank you for sitting with me while I worked through that. Less than 19 minutes, I'm reasonably happy with. That was a reasonable amount of time, I think, considering what we were dealing with. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that helped. I hope that explained what you were missing if you've already done it and needed to see what you were missing. If there's any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to explain in a new way, which hopefully you will understand. I'll have to take some time to think about it, but I will aim to address any comments, any questions. Thank you very much, and I will be back tomorrow.